What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? I am BDLM, coming with my buddy J4Y, bringing you episode number 55 of our Dota On Demand podcast. I was going to ask you how you are, but I know we both had kind of crappy days at work, so, what's it? Oh.
True, though.
That's why we're so excited to be doing this.
See, this is how we kick back and relax. We're like, how better to come off a bad day than discuss the game we sometimes enjoy. We always enjoy watching it, just don't always have the time to. I think that's the major issue for us. But obviously, in the next week or so, we are going to be, well, everyone, frankly, is going to be watching a lot more Dota, at least in kind of a crunch time mode. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm definitely glad that we're going to be able to do this. Today we're going to be doing a lot of viewer questions, which is awesome. Love doing those. And then we're also going to be talking about the International, as you were just alluding to, and how that starts up very, very soon, at the end of this week.
Yeah, it's going to be good. And thank you, by the way, for everyone tuning in. Thank you. I want to just give a quick shout out to Pencil Warrior for leaving us a comment. Glad that we can be your favorite podcasters. Sorry that we sometimes suck and go on hiatuses without telling you guys, but this is going to be week number 2 in a row. So talk about consistency. I mean, this is like two points is a lot more than 1, as far as I've heard. I think it's double or something. So,
and you know what, Mr. Pencil? You're our favorite at whatever it is you do. So you take that to work with you tomorrow.
To me, it seems like he fights with pencils, but I'm not sure exactly. I guess we'll have to find out on his next post.
There you go.
Maybe there's a pencil blog or something that we can get some info on.
A pencil blog sounds like an oxymoron.
You know what? That's a good point. I don't think that would make a whole lot of sense. Unless he used pencils to type on the keyboard.
We'll figure it out later.
That's figure it out later. But yeah, so viewer questions, like you said, and then we'll dive into some various things, probably involving the International.
Various.
Probably not too various, though.
So you want to start? You want to start with the viewer questions?
Well, I think that makes a lot of sense. And why don't we end on the International question, that one? So that way we can just kind of break off into a free form at that point. I think that makes the most sense. So
let's do it.
I'll start off with first question, all of these being from Twitter. So thanks for following us at Dota On Demand. If you ever want to give us a shout or Facebook, any of the methods work. But don't call me, though. All right, so Hubba is his name, or her name, probably his. And it's actually a two-parter, so we'll start with the first part. And first he asks, with all the aggressive tri-lanes and heavy nukers mid, why hasn't Omni Night made resurgence? I don't know if that doesn't sound right to me, but made a resurgence as support in this current meta. So, I mean, do you want to start this off?
You want me to take it away?
Yeah, sure.
I will be glad to, because I was able to do a little bit of research with some numbers and some things and some stats, and it's kind of interesting that, I mean, resurgence is kind of, he has, by his own standard, in the fact that he's actually gotten picked up a couple times per month the last couple months. Way back in April, he got picked once. And then the month before that, he got picked twice. The last couple months, he's had 4, some 4s, some 3s, so he's come up a little bit more, but, you know, I think it's interesting when you look at Omni Night and how he's actually gotten played in the games he's been a part of. 75% of the time, he's played as a 3-role. He's played as the hard lane solo. You know, we talked a while ago about how hard lanes had sort of fallen out of, or side lane solos that couldn't do any sort of jungling, had sort of fallen out of favor. And so you already have this sort of hard position to throw a hero into. I think that's probably why we don't see him as much even in that 3rd position, but as far as being a support, it's almost sort of like when we were talking about the Abaddon thing. It's, you have this great heal, you have a great defensive ability, and then of course the ultimate is fantastic, running in, giving yourself that near physical immunity and then the health regeneration. But, you know, what does he bring you in the laning phase? I guess there are some heroes that can really take advantage of the repel and the heal. I actually really like him with Weaver. I think that's hilarious. But I don't see where you can put him into a tri-lane that's really going to be able to say, you know, we're going to be able to accomplish anything other than not dying. and maybe you can say that that's enough. But I think for the most part, when you look at like Treant Protector, for instance, who's sort of the same thing, it's like, okay, we're just gonna not lose. He carries that over into the other lanes as well, whereas Omni Night can't.
Yeah, I would definitely agree that the healing aspect of him gets definitely overshadowed by a hero like Treant, who, obviously Omni Knight's very powerful at sustaining the lane he's in. I mean, you just buy a couple clarities if you play him as support, and you'll definitely be fine for the lane phase. But the way, at least, I've been seeing a lot of these kind of games that go, with the typical tri-lanes and protect the carry, is it's generally going to be a 3v1 or a 3v nothing, where they don't always have the face-off. Now, granted, if it is a 3v3, like they put their tri-lanes against each other, then obviously he comes into a really huge role. But if it's just going to be him in a lineup against a team that just doesn't feel like fighting them head on, then yeah, he's really, unless he roams and heals occasionally, he's not going to accomplish a lot until team fights begin. Now, granted, once team fights begin, he obviously is a powerhouse. You can't argue. I mean, his ultimate, very important, definitely allowing a lot of heroes that normally wouldn't survive very long to stick it out there and do their full combo or damage or whatever they're supposed to do. And then Repel, generally, I want to say it's very effective, but I think it was a lot more useful when you had squishier carries back in the day of like Faceless and Anti-Mage being the main ones, things like that, where they needed that spell immunity to get through to do their damage. But now you have Lifestealer, who has a built-in one, Alchemist, who's super tanky. I mean, things like this, I guess it's just maybe not as valued as it once was.
I'm kind of thinking, too, like, what's your scenario that you're so convinced that they're going to aggressively tri-lane that you know you're going to get your 3v3, you're going to have to play defensively?
Lifestealer, Spirit Breaker, Naga.
Alright, fair enough. But I think you could say, I mean, you could just roll that into another lane, like say we're up against this Omni Night and whatever your other two are, and let's just say they look scary as anything. Even the tri-lane you just mentioned, I think it has more roam potential than an Omni Night does, right? What happens if all of a sudden Omni Night doesn't get that laning condition that you're expecting? What's he going to do? Not much. He's going to wind up pulling jungle creeps and just trying to pull and hope for the best. He's not going to get levels. He's not going to get his farm. So, maybe the aggressive tri-lane doesn't get to go aggressive, but what hero is so crippled by not being sort of the aggressor in an aggressive tri-lane that if they switch to a defensive, they lose it? I mean, even Juggernaut, right? If Juggernaut is able to get himself a little bit of farm safely, uncontested, then he can start rolling into taking towers. No big deal. There's no hero that I can think of off the top of my head that needs to be in that aggressive tri-lane so bad that they can't be somewhere else.
I mean, the only one I can think of, and he's not even really super important or even used in this meta, is the Bristleback. He loves tri-lanes, but I mean, let's be honest, we've seen him like once or twice picked in all of competitive play. Now, granted, who knows what's going to happen in TI3? Maybe he'll be, well, let's not get to that point yet, but I'll read into that later. But yeah, no. Besides that, Visage, but that's a support. I mean, the support will deal with whatever situation he has to be put in. So I agree with you. I mean, it's obviously at that point you don't need him, and the Degen Aura, very negligible as a support. Now that's obviously more important if you play him as more of a farming hero or someone that gets the levels and is more of a threat. Then you actually put points that Degen Aura to a level, but otherwise you're going to be going Purification, Repel, and you're not going to even be setting anything up. So yeah, definitely not as scary as a tri-lane. And that kind of, well, I was going to say that's kind of similar train of thought, I think, as to Abaddon, but Abaddon obviously is played a lot differently. So.
And what do you know? What a great transition into the part B.
It's almost like I know what's coming up next, and I can do that.
There's some sort of prophet got that future sight going on. Just saw it coming. Part B of the question, which was, please give your thoughts on a tri-lane involving Omni Night and Abaddon together.
Now, I have to say, I don't know if he left it out on purpose or not, but he didn't specify if they're both supports or if one of them is getting farm in that tri-lane. So I'm going to first answer it how I think he wanted it answered, which is they're both supports for a carry, and they're just like ham sandwich healing together. That is, I mean, if you saw that and you were the other team, there's no way you would put anything against that lane. There's absolutely nothing you can do. Whoever you try to kill will get shields and heals and repels and will just live forever. So, I mean, honestly, I'm not even gonna think about them so much as a tri-lane for like the laning phase, because I can't imagine any team would go up against that. I'm more thinking of as the team fights evolve and as you go as a push as a lineup, how scary that would be to have both on the same team. I think that would be a very powerful force, but that kind of brings me back to the thinkings of when teams would go heavy push into like with heavy healers, like a Necrolite as a foundation for a team or something. Well, now you have shields and heals and even the Omni ult to push. If you put them together with maybe even a Necrolite and then like a nice push like a Juggernaut, or who knows, you can Nature's Prophet, whatever you want to do, then I think together it might be overkill, but then again, maybe not. They could maybe do a lot of work together.
I think it's hilarious. Like, I really wish that you could like repel Abaddon and then Mist Coil and not take damage. I think that would be hysterical. Unfortunately, it's pure damage and not magic damage. But I think the problem there, especially, is like, what are you have no crowd control. You're not getting kills. You might not ever die, but you're not really getting kills. Or if you're against an aggressive tri-lane, then they're probably going to have ranged. And I guess you can heal through whatever has to dish out to you, but I don't really know that you would be able to really easily contest another tri-lane. I don't know. I mean, it's a really particular situation. But again, it's one of those things. Okay, so you don't challenge it. I mean, what are you going to do? None of those heroes are going to be able to stop a bounty hunter, even if they had the detection, or one of these other mobile side lane solos. So you'd have to say, okay, well, I need a ranged carry who's going to provide CC.
Vengeful Spirit, dare I say?
Because we really don't want range. And I mean, nothing's coming off the top of my head that would say there's one that a team captain hasn't thought of that would be terribly viable at a competitive level. But I think it's hilarious, and I want to do it the next game I play.
They could just be a duo. Yeah, it doesn't even have to be a tri-lane. It could be a duo and a pup or something, and just get like Abaddon farm or whatever, and he'll do fine with it. Now, granted, they both have crappy slows, so it's not like you're going to be really getting too many kills, like you were saying, unless like the person's overstaying their welcome against you. But you're definitely not going to die either. So I think it's a pretty sweet thing. And you said you wouldn't take the damage because it's pure. That doesn't matter with repel, because it's just magic immunity. So it doesn't matter the type of damage. Just like, for example, OD's thing can't be cast on people that are magic immune despite it being pure.
You're pure.
Pure of heart, but not pure of soul. I don't know what that means, but probably legit. But still, I think he'll take the damage anyways. But I just wanted to kind of throw that out there. Yeah, I don't know. I'd be curious to see both of them in a heal lineup, or a heal push lineup with give Necrolite, make that the tri-lane. Just Necrolite, Omniknight, Abaddon, and just laugh your ass off at the other lane. And they'll be like, okay, we gotta send 4 or 5 to stop this push, because
don't stop till you hit the fountain.
Basically, and throw Pugna in there with the Nature's Prophet. Sure, why not? Or you know what? Give the Crystal Maiden the solo. Now I'm going back to the Alliance, that game with Crystal Maiden in the offlane that we talked about a couple episodes ago, where they had the Pugna push team with Crystal Maiden soloing offlane, since she got levels for the aura. I mean, just replace a couple factors with Omni Night and Abaddon, and
I mean,
works for me.
There you go. We'll let you use that one, Quantic. You just
yeah, have fun with that one. So anyways, there's I guess that's a pretty good solid answer. Obviously, we don't know much about Abaddon yet, and Omni Night, well, we'll see if he makes any of guest appearance soon. But yeah, he's kind of I think he's just glossed over in general, just because other heroes are doing things better than him in the whole map awareness presence kind of a way.
Yeah, and not that you have to go Diffusal because he gets picked up. I feel like there's some great heroes that could pick it up. I mean, like the Slark, who it hasn't been crazy big lately, but I feel like if you give a team a good excuse to pick him and pick up a Diffusal Blade, he'd be happy to do it. And then you don't even have to worry about the ultimate. And then he also is a hero where obviously fighting together as 5 is huge because then you can get your ult on everybody. And the enemy team doesn't necessarily have to do that. They can pick a split pusher and play around that. So.
Yeah, I guess it really does depend how you form your team. But I was actually, when you said Slark, I was thinking Slark plus Omni Night lane is pretty badass too, because he'll leap right onto someone, and then you'll just pop the heal on them.
Hold them in place for the
they're
degen
stuck.
aura to kick in.
Oh, and then the degen aura, that devastating 28% slow lane game, is gonna really do some wonders. So I don't know. Slark, well, I don't want to talk about him too much quite yet because I'm going to talk about him later. But he's a fun, fishy guy. Moving on. So question number 2 from Georgie, but it's a 3 instead of an E. I have to point it out. He asks, "What heroes are going to?" Oh no, can't ask this question.
We're saving
yet.
it.
I just messed up my. I'm glad I told you not to do it. That I messed it up anyways. All right. He asked a question, but have patience. Defiler asked a question as well, so let's go to his. Why not? He goes ahead and asks, he says, Skywrath Mage was really popular for a while. Now he seems gone again. Will he make a comeback? What would have to change for him to reappear? So I'll start this conversation.
Please do.
Let you jump in. So when you say really popular for a while, I think, first of all, that's a little over-exaggeration. He definitely... It was pretty much right when he came into Captain's mode. Some teams were loving picking him up in that solo mid role, especially getting him ultra nuking capacity, and of course the main one that comes to my mind is going to be Dendi. I'm kind of a Navi fanboy, but that happens. But most of the games I watched was him playing it, so this is where most of my experience is going to come from talking it. And basically, he just was devastatingly strong in that lane. If 1 or 2 heroes would come, like Puppy would roam in or something with a smoke, it was pretty much a guaranteed kill because of how much harassment he already was putting out from the lane. And at that point, they kind of snowballed into a victory from just shutting down their mid so hard and pushing towers and just carrying on to win. But he's obviously, he really hasn't been. I don't know if he's still Statsman BDLM, if you even have any clue. You do.
I do. I'm prepared this time. So in May, this is where where you can agree, I think, with the really popular, because in May he was picked 30 times.
Oh shoot, I was off.
In June he's picked 10 times, and then once in July.
Oh jeez.
So this really dramatic fall off, and it's not even that he was really unproductive. He winds up having a 50% win rate.
Oh wow.
In those 2 months where he was really popular. But I mean, me personally, I kind of like the idea of him. Of course, when we did our episode on him, I really liked his movement speed and how mobile he could be. Not that I feel like was really like that much abused when he was getting picked up in competitive play. I think it's just when you... It's not that he's bad. I think it's just when you line him up against a lot of other heroes, what are you able to get out of him? Because at the end of the day, he does still need a couple items to get his mana pool up to be able to drop the ultimate, and to be able to potentially drop it more than once. So, that's for me. If you're comparing, let's say, a Skywrath Mage to a Bane, if you're looking for the support aspect, or a Skywrath Mage versus Queen of Pain, I don't know if you can really say that he is going to be able to contribute as much. Or even if you want to say, the Shadowfiend, who's still pretty decently popular, being that solo mid, he's obviously not going to have the late game potential that Shadowfiend has.
It's just, especially comparing him in a support role. Definitely look at him compared to, let's say, the popular supports that are used in this meta, right? We got the Bane, we have, occasional, we got the Kodal, we obviously, and when I say supports, I also mean heroes like Chen, junglers like that, Shadow Demon, Visage. These all have really powerful CCs, really high damage potential. They bring a lot to the table. When you get Skywrath Mage, his Q, obviously it's decent burst damage, but it's not usually to the point of the other heroes I mentioned off. He has a good slow, and the silence is more of an interesting mechanic because most of the heroes that have a silence are not used in this meta. Like Drow, like Death Prophet. They're not really picked up, so silence is kind of being almost negated. In fact, it seems like if a team wants one, they'll just go hero like Quap or someone, or Stormspear who gets an Orchid, and they're like, that's my silence. I'm not going to get a hero that has it built in, screw that. But it doesn't seem like he really is providing enough of the benefits that you're looking for in a support to really warrant him being picked up. I'm even trying to like rattle my brain here for what I'd want him in, and I can't think of a scenario that I'd prefer him over someone else. Unless we go back to that conversation we had about him, where he like smoked and roamed mid to gank, or things like that, where his range was really important. But even then, I don't know.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's just like, it's not a thing where he's bad by any means. I think it's just by comparison. It's also like, if you have, who's going to work in most scenarios too. I think a lot of these heroes, these other heroes we've listed to compare him against, aren't as necessarily as finicky as he might be. They might not need the particular start that he would, or the particular opportunities to arise for him to be successful. So that might be something else to take into account. I don't know. I feel like he might be, not to get into some of our other questions, but he might be something that we expect to see sometime in the near tournament future pop back up.
Yeah, exactly. I like you said, he's not a bad hero by any means. He obviously can win games. 50% win rate's pretty darn impressive for a hero in general. I mean, not tons of experience under his belt yet, but still, it's a pretty good start. And, we've seen some absolutely crushing performances by some players on him, in the middle especially. So we know its potential there, and we'll just have to wait and see. As far as what would have to change for him to reappear, I'm not sure there's an answer to that. I mean, it's more, these kind of heroes, it's almost flavor of the month in a way. It's whatever players decide, like, they feel they want to run in the lineup, and they start just doing it. And then other teams like, oh yeah, I'll do that too. That's like, it seems like that's a pattern for a lot of these heroes. Warlock, he's gone. Where did he go? I mean, he was super popular for about a month. I don't know. Obviously, that's another stats man beat them thing. But the point is, he's dropped off. We know that in general. So, and he's obviously got crushing potential for team fights. So, it really just is up to the teams and the players. And so, maybe we'll see him come back. Maybe we won't. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, that's something you sent me a nice little link to an article that I apparently closed out of. Unfortunately, where Quantic, they wind up like picking this great draft against kind of the core unbeatable alliance draft in the tournament that I'm hoping that you remember the name of.
Not a fan, but I can find it really quick.
Okay, that'd be great. Because I think that's really sort of what's interesting about it, and one of the things that I've liked so much, and I said it a couple times, in some of our past episodes, just how much I like Dota right now, because it feels pretty well balanced, all things considered. And it's not necessarily that things that aren't getting done are bad, it's just that people don't feel like doing them. And when you see this lineup come out of Quantic that's able to just completely demolish an alliance lineup, like I said, had pretty much been fairly core for them, being able to pick up that Aki-Chen, the Loda Phantom Assassin, just burn it down. I mean, why isn't Pugna picked more? Why isn't that a bigger strategy? I don't know. Teams just don't work it into their arsenals.
Yeah, I can't find it that easily.
That's okay.
It's okay. You pretty much covered over it. I'm in agreement. So we'll have to see. But by all means, like we're kind of trying to drive home the point. Don't think that he's like out and never coming back. It's just more of is Dendi wanting to play him for this game? I mean, that's kind of like how that hero is going to work, essentially.
Yeah, that's pretty fair. The next question we have from RHYS.
I think it's RHYS.
RHYS? Could be RHYS. Could be
RHYS.
RHYS. It's Seer backwards. Ooh.
Oh geez.
Anyway, you know what? I like it anyway because it's 4 letters, and I'm a fan of those types of things. So, RHYS asks, when would it be a good idea for a carry to get a Daedalus instead of the typical items we see, maybe being the butterfly, the monkey king bar, I'll throw in the desolator maybe. One of those high damage items. Do you have any thoughts, or would you like me to blow your mind with some knowledge?
I love when my mind gets blown. In general, things get okay. I'm not gonna go that farther. Yes, please proceed with
One up in action movies is what you were
Of
alluding
course,
to.
I don't know what else I would have been. Yes.
Nope. I think it's interesting. I think the heroes that wind up getting Daedalus picked up on are the ones that wind up having a way through their skill set to augment their attack damage. And so that's going to wind up being your Shadowfiend, who I'd say is probably the most common Daedalus carrier of the moment. You have your Templar Assassin back in the day, I feel like would pick up the Daedalus a decent amount. And then, of course, when Dendy was playing the Magnus a bit and wound up getting too much farm, would wind up picking up a Daedalus as like his fourth or his fifth item. And so I think that's really kind of an interesting way to think about it. I don't know if that's why it's getting picked up, but I think that's an interesting trend, and I think it makes a lot of sense, where obviously you're just this hero that has this built-in functionality of being able to do increased damage. You're going to then percent increase that increase in damage. I think that might be why it's a go-to. Plus, compared to some of these other items that RHYS mentioned, it really has, I think, a lot cheaper components to at least be able to, before you get to the Demon Edge. Obviously, the Chrysalis is actually reasonable to put together. It's not necessarily the big, 1,500 gold items that you have to put together.
Did you miss the most important hero to have the item?
Yeah, I did.
Because I'm really hoping I didn't just not hear you.
I did it on purpose, probably, with whatever you're referring to.
Yo ho ho.
And a bottle of rum. That's the wrong game, isn't it?
Kunkka.
Yeah, the Kunkka, of course. And again, that's where you're going to get the Tidebringer buff up.
Yeah, obviously Kunkka thrives on Shadowblade plus Chrysalis and Daedalus, and just doing that enormous crit out of stealth. I mean, it's pretty popular when he's played now. I think you put a good point in there about it, even at the Chrysalis stage being a very valuable asset and not necessarily getting rushed into the Daedalus or Daedalus. I've heard it's both. I don't know which one it is exactly. It's like mechanism and mechanism.
Pretty sure.
It sounds Daedalus. That sounds correct, but
that's I think the way I've always heard the Greek dude's name pronounced.
The Greek dude,
Yeah. Daedalus.
Daedalus. Yeah, so even players just going the Chrysalis is a good idea, but as far as you're saying, compared to like B-Fly, MKB, etc., some of those are more situational and definitely going to be better. Obviously, going Daedalus means you're going just pure damage, and you were saying, amplifying or tacking on to something the hero already excels in. Just making that damage that much greater and more powerful. Whereas when a lot of these typical carries will go Manta or B-Fly or something, they're going more defensive kind of damagey item. Or they're like Manta, obviously. If you don't know by now, Manta's main purposes are to push and farm well, to dispel certain effects well, and just all around give you nice stats. So very, very commonly picked up on carriers for that reason. Butterfly, you're against some heavy auto attackers. You need some evasion, plain and simple. MKB, you're against evasion. you need to go kill that person. And then otherwise, Daedalus, I just want to hit you really hard. And I mean, I wouldn't be upset with you getting that item as long as those other situations don't apply, because you should really be focusing more, I think, on what you're trying to accomplish first. And then if you've already, checked all those items off the list, like, okay, that guy's evasion, I got my MKB, what now? Okay, now it's fine to go this crit chance, because I've at least covered my bases.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of those heroes are obviously too really either just because they wind up getting the Daedalus or other parts of their build are really interested in bursting people down. Obviously, the TA, just taking people out really quickly. Shadowfiend just does way too much damage and wants to take people out. And then, of course, like you mentioned earlier, with the being able to pop that Tidebringer to do a bunch of damage from the invis, be able to get that really big number up front, try and take somebody down. That's again where your strategy is. If you really need to kill somebody quick, then yeah, go for it, man. Get the crit. But like you said, there are of course other situations where those other abilities wind up becoming important.
Yeah, so you're welcome, RHYS. I don't know. There's so many variations of his name that we could go on the rest of the night, but we won't. This next guy, I think it's pretty straightforward, his name, so hopefully I don't mess it up.
Crix. Crap.
Somehow he did it. Crix asks, he says, you guys discussed Heaven's Halberd and how useful it would be, but we rarely, if ever, see it. Wouldn't it be useful against Alchemist or Lifestealer, etc. in this current meta? Wouldn't it be the LM?
Wouldn't it? Yeah, I definitely think so. But I got two things. And this is kind of, I remember a while ago mentioning it with the Crystal Maiden, because I could be inaccurate in this statement. I want to say one of the first people to do it was Arzart, or Smile, as he also goes by, picking up on a Crystal Maiden. And then, of course, it taking a couple times, go, oh yeah, no, that's not really trolly to pick up a Sange, because it's just health. And, we had just gotten off of this time where supports, when they had money, they would buy bracers, because they just wanted to survive, to be able to do their thing in team fights. They wound up saying, okay, well, let's go for Sange, because it's kind of a more efficient, it's a little bit more expensive way to go if you can accrue that much money, but we can just stack up the health. If you get really, really fat, as a support or whatever, yeah, go for the Heaven's Halberd. And of course, yeah, it makes a lot of sense against these heroes like Alchemist, like the Lifestealer. But unless you're in a situation where you're this crazy rich support, what heroes are there that are going to wind up benefiting from its stats and using the ability where they don't already have that maybe as part of their kit? Because the one I was going to say, what's a melee strength hero that's really going to want to be interested in trying to lock down somebody? And the first person that came to mind for me was like, oh, Beastmaster. Oh wait, yeah, he's already got that. Not only does he have that really long range initiate to lock somebody down, he literally clears a path so that you can go kill that person. Really, there isn't anybody else that winds up fitting that role, where you would actually kind of want to build that on your own,
The only one I could think of is Alchemist, really. I'm like, maybe he could build it, but it doesn't. I mean, depending on what you're going against, obviously he could go other items that are stronger. I mean, one of Heaven Halberd's, I think, best attributes besides just having a disarm is the fact that it's pretty inexpensive for a powerful item. I mean, 3850 combined or total cost is something that puts it more in the price range of someone who might not be getting the absolute crazy farm. So maybe if you're having a mediocre farm game, or if you are against these kind of heroes and you just need something defensive, then yeah, I don't know, I could possibly see it. But it's going to be 9 times out of 10 a strength hero that would want it, obviously, so he can gain more from the strength than just health. I can see supports getting it as well, but yeah, how often is the support going to get 4,000 gold in a game? Not too often.
And that's the other thing too, is it's not that bad for putting Sange together. 1,000, that's kind of a lot for support, but really it's when you wind up having to get the dodge component, you have to save up 1,800, and you're just like, who is going to be able to save up that much gold and not die? That's not going to be wanting to get your high damage dealing items. Like, obviously your carriers are going to want to be able to do that, but like I said, there really aren't any mid heroes that I would foresee maybe wanting to get that as a priority item. The only like mid strengths I'm thinking of off the top of my head that would even sort of get played are the Magnus, and obviously he has much higher priorities than the disarm. So I think that's really where you kind of run into the problems there. It's a relatively affordable item, but part of it is way too expensive for supports, and then when you go to the heroes that can afford it, it's not really going to be your priority, your job to want to put it together.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair. And I do remember us talking a good amount about it when it came out, and saying how obviously you can see situations where you'd like to have it, but think of just like a carry. Like going back, I was like, well, Alchemist maybe could pick it up. Well, instead of having Halberd, maybe he would go instead towards that. What I like to see is pretty popular is like an Abyssal Blade or something, where he'll go the bash and stun, and it's just a different interpretation. Instead of going more survival and defensive, these carries will generally want to be able to dish out damage, or even in like the Abyssal's case, like a lockdown, like have more at their disposal. So the only carries that really love to go super defensive are like Spectre and
I could see like a Dragon Knight, but then again, this is the other thing too. Like, if you're one of these heroes that's gonna be wanting to farm, you don't want to pick up this item that, okay, yeah, I guess it's gonna add your health and stuff. But like, yeah, you think about the Dragon Knight or the Alchemist, like these strength heroes, they don't wind up getting strength items to get their damage. They wind up getting damage items to get their damage. So you're even then, even though it's your primary stat, that's not going to be enough to motivate you to get this thing that's largely there for utility.
Yeah, it's definitely its primary purpose is that. The main, I mean, it's a 20% move and attack speed slow, which is nice in general to have it being a slow. And that's why I was trying to go back on here, like Alchemist or someone who like doesn't have, I mean, he has a stun, but he doesn't have like a slow component, so he could get kited potentially. But in that regard, it's really just not worthy enough of 4,000 gold, I think, for those heroes to invest in it. That's all. That's really at the end of the day how I see it.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think now we're actually down to our Georgie question.
Yeah, Georgie, we can finally we can go into it now.
We came back around. Georgie, with a 3, asked, what heroes are going to sneak in the lineups of the TI3 that we wouldn't expect? What are your thoughts, my friend?
I'm kind of curious why he put sneak in parentheses. I'm almost like thinking he wanted to be Ricky or something, because I don't know where else he's going with that. That'd be something I would do, like something silly that I would do. But heroes that are going to sneak into the lines of TI3. Well, this is why now it might make sense to you guys why we were trying to hold off on some hero discussions. Because frankly, I want to say all but 2 heroes have a chance of being picked up in TI3. Can you guess those 2 heroes I think don't have a chance? Now, yeah, it's 100 and some heroes, so you've got pretty slim odds. How about just one of them? If you can name one of them.
Sniper?
Nope.
Really?
Really.
I kind of just expected you to hate on the Sniper.
I hate Sniper, don't get me wrong. That's not it.
I could totally see Invoker winding up going through the whole thing and not being picked. I'm trying to think who you wouldn't think would get through.
I'm probably wrong about one, but I'm pretty sure I'm right about the other.
Pretty sure. Centaur Warrunner.
He's in CM, isn't he?
Hard R. Yeah.
Well, he might get picked up. Hell, who knows? But probably not. Probably not.
What are your
my 2 were Medusa.
She's not in captain's mode.
Well, then there you go. I forgot they took her out.
Huskar, I'm guessing.
No, there's not the other one, a-hole. Let's see if this one is. How about Tusk? That's legit. Damn it, you're right about. Well, she's definitely. I can't be wrong about that pick. There's no way I could be wrong about that one.
There's some infallibility in that.
The Warlord got taken out, right, or is he back in?
I don't know. I don't do a tremendous job of keeping up with who is in or out.
Well, those are the 2. Well, definitely one that I am sure are not going to find their way in. Now, in regards or in terms of who I think are going to sneak in, Slark, I think, is going to find his way into the TI3. I mean, there was that period that we probably discussed some episodes ago about him being in some series and doing actually pretty well in some cases. But I definitely think he'll find his way in. I do think Drow has potential to make a comeback. Not popular by any means, but I feel like she could get used. She just does so much damage. You couple her with a Nature's Prophet or another strong ranged attack damage hero on your team, that aura cannot go. It can't be underestimated because it really scales so well throughout the game. It's percent of her agility that by the time it gets to that high level late game stuff, she has so much agility that she's giving her damage buff her damage bonus is just enormous. So I think she's going to be actually a presence. And then I'd say a third hero that I think might make a good comeback would be the Undying. I feel like he's fallen off from Graces, and that's not really a sneak in because we've seen him a lot over time. But I feel like in the past couple months he really has disappeared, and I foresee him making a nice presence in this TI3.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually a really kind of lead into what I was going to say. I kind of found sneak an interesting word because I don't think that there's really going to be a whole lot that you're going to go, oh my god, this is crazy, guys. Because I feel
Sniper.
like, except for Sniper, no, but I feel like most of it is probably going to be like, oh yeah, I remember that. I remember that being a thing. Because I seem to remember us saying the same thing, or at least me at the International too, where like, these are all things that we sort of saw before that wound up falling out of favor, not for any particular reason, but just stopped getting played, like Juggernaut being super popular. I'm curious to see if we wind up seeing Templar or Assassin come back, because she was one that sort of, I want to say, got reinvented in the builds that wound up not picking up Blink Dagger. They wound up going like the Drums and the Yasha. So I'm interested to see if we see her. CK has sort of been an interesting hero because he has gone from having 20-some picks a month to just 6 in July. And even without the presence of Wisp, was still being picked up pretty decent amount when you consider that before he started getting picked up with the Wisp, it was pretty much just, oh yeah, well, you need the Wisp with the CK. So I think that we're going to see a lot of stuff that we're going to be fond of, maybe not so fond of in the Phantom Lancer department. Maybe. We'll see.
Please, can we pray for nothing of that sort?
But, you know, like Tiny. Tiny's been played without the Wisp a couple times. I'm curious to see if he gets picked up. Of course, you know, we mentioned the one game where Pugno did crazy well. You know, seeing that I don't think would necessarily be a shock. I think a lot of these too, that's sort of the great thing about it, is that there's nothing that's going to be like, I'm just going to be excited about all of them because we're like, oh yeah, we see where this is going because we've seen it before, and really get to sort of, once these teams come together, get to say, well, now we have this thing that we used to see forever ago versus maybe something really standard or something else off the wall.
I think Tiny Wisp is not going to make too much of an impact. You want to know why?
Why?
Because of their buffs to towers in this last patch. And their backdoor protection. GG. That combo just got shut down. Or something. Anyways, probably not at all true. But it did get hurt. It did get affected. Anyways. I almost said another stupid thing, but I did research before I said it. I almost said, where's Elder Titan in all of this? And then I realized he's not in Captain's mode. So, good thing I researched that one ahead of time. But, because I remember us talking about him when he was going to get put in, about how people like gods and whatnot were saying, oh yeah, he's Dota 1. He's kind of popular. He's kind of used. And I'm like, well, where's he been? Oh yeah. Not in the game. Right, okay. But OD, recently, getting a nice... And these are more heroes I'm going to start saying that aren't really going to sneak in at all, but have been just... I feel like all of a sudden really getting popular. Our Devour, definitely getting used a lot more, which is exciting, because he's obviously an interesting hero for sure. I mean, yeah, he's an auto-attacker at the core, but he definitely can make some plays and do some nice big damage numbers, which is always fun to watch people blow up instantly. So, hopefully we get to see more of him come out on the scene. I don't know. Any other ones that...
Leshrac Lion, I think, are two interesting ones where I can't really tell you why they stopped being popular.
Yeah, definitely not.
But there's really no reason for them to not come back.
Leshrac should definitely, I feel like, make a comeback. I mean, I feel like everyone just, like, all of a sudden, because of the cast animation on his Diabolic Edict, is everyone just started freaking out and saying, oh no more, we can't use him. Yet, he still does a billion damage and still hurts buildings, like... is probably one of the strongest pushers in the game against buildings with that move. So the fact that he's not getting used just because of a cast animation seems a little over the top. So I don't know. I could definitely see him making a nice comeback as well.
I think the one pocket strat that has sort of faded in and out that I kind of doubt we'll see is like the Death Prophet one, which is I'm kind of sad about. I feel like that's probably run its course. I don't know if because it was sort of that same thing. Like I was saying, you wind up getting into some of the international 2 games. It's like, oh yeah, this was a thing, and it worked kind of, and let's do it, and it worked kind of, and then they stopped doing it, and we went on about our lives. I kind of doubt that we're going to wind up seeing her, but that's probably the one that I think was there for a while and might not now. The Tinker too, probably. I don't know how much of him we're going to see.
I think
just because people have come up with so many funny ways to deal with him.
Well, I don't think we're playing in Korea, so it'll be okay. But honestly, I feel like Tinker is going to get picked up a handful of times at least, just for the fact that these high-skilled players, especially I know Southeast Asia, a lot of players love running the Tinker because they're so amazing at microing these heroes to the point where they can fully utilize his capabilities. Yeah, I definitely foresee him making his re-entrance. Meepo, I don't think No Tail's team will let him troll around with that hero much, but you never know. There's the maybe if they're like 12-0 in the group stages somehow, they'll allow him to play once. But
does No Tail not run the draft?
You know
I
what?
would say he does.
I thought it was Hani, but
I could be wrong. This is why that's one thing that I've definitely not ever really picked up well on is being crazy familiar with teams for whatever reason. But that's definitely part of the question, which maybe was a bad lead into that. Is who do you guys think are going to do well at the International 3? I definitely want to say that I am maybe slightly biased to wanting the Western teams to do well. I think it's from watching too much StarCraft and wanting there to just be one thing that Westerners can be good at, really, really good at, especially when you consider last year of just how sort of unbalanced it was. Where you have LGD just rolling everybody until they wind up hitting Na'Vi, and then of course you have IG finally taking it, spoiler alert, in the grand final, the International 2. So I really think there's a lot of potential this year. Of course, with Alliance, I think they're probably pretty well favored to do, top 3 at least, and I wouldn't be surprised at all to see that. Like you said earlier, I'm a Na'Vi fanboy at heart, so I'd like to see them do well. But
you're talking about the favoring. Like you said, top 3 were LGD, IG, and DK last year, all above 12 wins in their group stages. So obviously, super dominating performances, and I still expect all 3 of those teams to do well, to at least be in the winners bracket, probably. DK might be an exception. I haven't followed them very much in this offseason, so I'm not sure what their case is, but IG and LGD look just as strong to me as they did going into the TI2. So I would expect them to be... I'm going to kind of just give my predictions for winners bracket, which is definitely a lot of picks, so I have a very high chance of being wrong here. But if I predict it right, everyone that watches this episode has to donate $1 to Dota On Demand.
Ooh.
You heard me? That's calling you guys out right now. So write these names down, people. This is important. So let me just make sure I count how many teams. Okay, there's 16. So the 8 that will be in the winners bracket are going to be IG.
Mm-hmm.
You writing this down? No, you're not.
Yeah.
Alliance.
Mm-hmm.
Team Liquid.
Okay.
Na'Vi.
Mm-hmm.
LGD Int.
Okay.
I'm saying my predictions. Don't give me judges.
I'm
Don't
not.
give me any of those looks.
I'm not.
How many did I say so far? 5. I think there's more. Oh. DK. Mouse Sports.
Okay.
And LGD China. Now, obviously, this is going to get me... My conversation is going to start steering in the direction of Final Four brackets. So for those who don't know what that is, NCAA has March Madness tournament every year. College basketball. And when you fill out these brackets, you got to predict who wins and everything. You can't always predict the higher ranking teams to do well. You can't, because you will have upsets. There are always going to be upsets.
And that's why Jay has rattlesnakes as taking it all.
The $1.3 million winners will be Rattlesnake. Yeah, that would be something else, considering they're not even in the tournament yet. But, a couple of those picks, I saw some glances from you, and I'm sure people agree, were questionable compared to what's left in the pool. But there's all 16 of these teams, I feel like, are pretty strong. Obviously, that's why they're here. They're top 16 in the world. So to say, oh yeah, that guy doesn't have a chance, I don't really see that being true. Now, I'd say two of the weaker, in my opinion, at this stage are VP and Invasion MUFC. And when I say weaker, I mean they're still good. They're just, from performances I've seen recently them play in, they looked a little underwhelming. But I'm sure these teams are boot camping. They've been, practicing hard and getting ready. So that could obviously change in a moment's notice. But the other teams I've listed off, especially my first 4 or 5, I know have been putting a lot of good work and have been seeing very good results in tournaments and whatnot recently. So I'm pretty confident that at least 5 or 6 of my 8 are going to be in this winner's bracket. But hey, if all 8 are there, we're going to be rich co-casters.
I think we just entered into territory where obviously last year we went to the international and this year we're not. I just shed my single tear.
Oh.
But we should totally do brackets, Jay. We'll see who gets the most right going into the not the grand finals, but the main event. Let's do it.
Wait, so what is this bracket of? Are you saying after the group stage or before?
I don't know, whatever. We'll figure it out.
So what we can do, and we can
We got
involve
time
our
on our
community
side,
in
right?
this. I don't know how, but we can try. We could do, actually it'd be a really quick turn, it'd be a day turnaround if we did that, so that might be a little, how about this? People do what I just did. Give us your 8 predictions of the winner bracket. So the top 8 performing in the group stages that are going to be in the winner's bracket. Going into, I don't know what's called after group stages. The main event. Main event. No.
Into the brackets. Into the
real deal. The raw dog, if you will.
Mm.
Most people don't call it that.
I don't think they do.
But I want to hear your guys' opinions as well. Who do you think these top 8 are? Go ahead and actually number them out too, because I'm curious who people think are going to be like the top dogs. Go ahead and send that to us. Facebook, Twitter, Gmail. Let us know what you think.
Absolutely. And I mean, I think there was one more thing that I wanted to talk about that I guess we've talked about sort of across the board before and have mentioned for short segments is I actually am super stoked that I'm the proud owner of a Vengeful Spirit legendary weapon. And just now that we have this sort of closing compendium thing, I just think it's so awesome that we finally have gotten to see really how effective this compendium can be. You mentioned it earlier, $1.3 million now actually going to the winner. So the community has managed to raise $300,000 plus to the winners of the international. And I think the greatest part about this is that not only did community participation go beyond what Valve admits that they predicted, they wound up having to add more things and try and shuffle stuff around to make everything work out for that for those incentives. But we managed to get 6 of the 7. The 7th, I think, really being sort of an unreasonable goal.
Right.
I just think that's awesome, and it's so cool too that we all sort of got rewarded for going in for those compendiums, obviously now, and actually getting not just an extra tournament, something else cool to watch. We actually got something tangible to play with and to trade.
Yeah, memento, if you will, and something that we will be able to hold on to. It's pretty cool, and well, you can do that if you want. But I agree. It's really nice to see this involvement of the community in general, doing so much for it, and everyone being rewarded, like you said, even at the smallest participation levels, even just one compendium, we all still benefit from it. So definitely a cool thing. And if you haven't got one yet, I feel like you should, just to be along for the ride. I don't know at this point. You probably don't get everything if you buy one now. That I don't know, but I feel like that's just That's just a freeloader, and we don't want your kind at that point. Get out of here. No, just kidding.
No,
Well,
but seriously,
sort of.
buy one because
Yeah, but seriously, buy one though. You don't have much time either, because speaking of the schedule, and this is actually something I just wanted to quickly go over. So unlike last year, this one actually was expanded to 5 days of double elimination bracket action. So it begins August 2nd. We have our wild card match between Rattlesnake and Quantic Gaming, and that one's obviously not as important as most, since.
or.
Oh wait, no,
most
it is.
important?
It's very important. What am I saying? Yeah, it's important. The winner of that gets to come. So, cheers to that. Well, for some reason, you know what I was thinking in my mind? I was thinking of last year how the extra person, or the extra team, got to come anyways because one of the teams was not able to get their passports or whatever. And that's what I was thinking this would be. But no, the winner gets to play in the tournament. So, actually very important as it turns out. So maybe I should have predicted Rattlesnake. Who knows? But that would be pretty ballsy. So and then that's at 1 p.m. and these are all PST by the way. And then the solo championship. So part of those Compendium benefits you were talking about involve these random kind of matches and tournaments and stuff that are going to be like side fun shows in a way. And League of Legends actually did this in one of their tournaments too. But essentially, it's going to be like the best of the best doing certain things. And actually, if you had a compendium, you were able to cast your vote of who you wanted to play. So it's actually very popularity based. So imagine, you should expect big names like Dendi, etc., to be playing in these kind of tournaments. But alas, Solo Championship playoffs start then. Then we go into the prelims for the next 3 days, August 3rd through 5th, starting at 9 a.m. PST, so 12 o'clock noon for us East Coasters. Guess we're a coaster now. Then August 7th, which is a Wednesday.
Yes,
12.
go on.
Main event starts, and that goes through August 11th, all 5 days. And then there's various events like All-Star Match, Solo Championship, etc., etc. So, why do you think, and you probably don't have an answer for this,
Okay.
why do you think they expanded it from 3 days to 5 this year?
I don't know.
That's what I thought.
But I will say that I'm happy about it because there's more Dota, and it's really cool that those, like you were saying, the compendium things actually add to the main event stuff going on. I mean, when we went last year, like there was so much to watch and stuff already. It was great, and just now to have this spread out, I think it's just the whole thing between the compendium and the actual international expanding. It's so nice to see, just because it's this thing held in the U.S. first of all. That's a major esport event, being supported so well, becoming such a big thing. You know, the Super Bowl's a day, folks. You got the playoffs that lead up to it, sure, but I mean, this is just, I think, awesome that it's turned into such a big thing, and you know, it's got me wondering what they got planned for next year.
Oh yeah, exactly. I mean, we've all heard rumors about it going over to be in Asia, possibly, or Europe next year to kind of, make it easier for travel for other teams. But hey, now that America is open for esports for passports, just saying, we got good reason to keep it here. So and the company's still here as far as I know. So they should probably stay. But you know what? I think I've discovered how they were able to expand to 5 days. When we went last time, it started at 9 a.m. It starts at 12. It starts at noon. So they've taken that morning out of it, and now they've just made it an extra couple days. So yeah, it's actually not a bad idea considering. And I mean, I want to say the important days, the final 3 days, which is where the finals and all those things are going on. Those are going to be on the weekend where people can still absolutely go the whole time. So I feel like it's not a huge issue that Wednesday and Thursday that it's still going on during the day.
Yeah, and I mean those 12-hour days, those were
long
Morphling games. Okay,
jeez.
There were many Eroshans.
Oh no.
I loved it mostly, but yeah. So I'm just really happy that it's expanded out and everything, and I'm just going to be trying to burrow past the firewalls at work to watch it. Next week.
Yeah, no, and of course, and this is just something to briefly mention to y'all. I mean, we're gonna probably have the next. It might even actually be the next cast, but we're gonna have a very in-depth international discussion. It probably will be next cast. Now I'm thinking about it because it starts in like a few days.
We should probably do that.
We probably should. Anyways, you can watch it multiple ways. Well, you can't probably watch it in person by now. Ticket. So sorry about that. Those sold out, by the way. I think in 2 days this time. We had like a week last time to get them. I think they literally sold out in like 2 days. Like, it was ridiculously fast. And that's not surprising, but slightly aggravating. But we weren't going to get them anyway, so it's bad. Pub stomps. Everyone should look into those. I know B-Dum was just telling me beforehand about where we should possibly go for at least one day, and just start drinking and watching and having a great night. And actually, I'm all about that. So maybe we can do that, and everyone else should do it as well. In fact, I remember seeing a post on Reddit about how in Sweden they're renting out a movie theater for people to come and watch games. And I'm like, brilliant. That is some dedication by fans right there. Loving it. This time around, Twitch.tv, you can go on there. Actually, I think last year you could do it too. But now you can link your Steam account in with Twitch, and you will be able to, if you're watching through it, be able to win items while you're watching, as well as if you're watching finally their in-game client, like you could last year. You also can win items by just watching. It's all free, by the way. There's no pay for any of this. So, all good ideas. And then finally, if you miss games and stuff, you can go to the Dota 2 site, to the International tab, and just find the games you want to watch. And it should be spoiler-free as long as you don't go to their newsfeed. So, there's a good summary.
Boom.
Right?
Yeah, and I mean, I think we've talked about quite a bit today. Got through it all. Do you have anything else you want to say?
I just want to say we've made it through 55 episodes, and that's something.
It is something.
That is something that we should be proud of as hosts. I want to say congratulations, sir.
Congratulations to you too, sir. We made it to another international.
We did. You know, and here's to the next one that will. Didn't we say we were going to cast at one of these? Well,
shut up, Jay. I have to make it back to the next one. That's my goal. In 4, baby, it's happening.
And by either through casting or through a trash can or whoever I get there, I'm going to get there, damn it.
I will dress like a plant to sneak through the door if I have to. I don't care. It's happening. Anyway, join us next week, guys, and we will probably have something very international focused. And of course, like Jay was saying, we appreciate all of you guys' viewer questions. You can drop by our Facebook.com/Dota On Demand, or you can check out our YouTube channel /Dota On Demand. You can check out the Twitter. You can download us on Stitcher. There's a whole bunch of places. Just go ahead and Google it. And we will see you guys next week.